Borderline personality disorder. You receive a text from your girl that says, okay, nothing else, just okay. To you, that period at the end of the word feels like a slamming door. Your heart rate spikes. You feel a surge of affective instability. You are suddenly certain that this person despises you. You oscillate between wanting to beg for their forgiveness and wanting to block their number forever. Borderline personality disorder, BPD, involves a high degree of emotional dysregulation. According to Marsha Linehan's biosocial theory, it is the result of a biological vulnerability, a hyperreactive amygdala, meeting an invalidating environment. The math of BPD is brutal. It carries a suicide completion rate of nearly 10%, which is 50 times higher than the general population. Neurologically, there is a top-down failure. The prefrontal cortex cannot send a strong enough signal to the amygdala to say, calm down. It is like having a jet engine for an emotional center and the brakes of a tricycle. You are an emotional hemophiliac. The slightest social cut leads to a massive internal hemorrhage. You are seeking a constant, stable identity in a world that feels like shifting sand. Generalized Anxiety Disorder. You are standing in line at the grocery store. The fluorescent lights hum at exactly 60 hertz. You look at the person in front of you, and suddenly, you are calculating the statistical probability of a sudden cardiac event. Your heart rate climbs to 100 beats per minute. There is no predator, no emergency, just a relentless what-if engine grinding away in your skull. Generalized Anxiety Disorder, or GAD, is characterized by excessive, uncontrollable worry about everyday things. In the United States, this affects approximately 6.8 million adults, or 3.1% of the population in any given year. It is a chronic state of autonomic hyperarousal. The science points to a hyper-responsive HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Your brain is flooding your system with cortisol and norepinephrine as if you were being hunted. Evolutionarily, this is an over-optimization of the smoke detector principle. In a dangerous environment, a false positive, worrying about a threat that isn't there, has a low survival cost. A false negative, ignoring a threat that is there, results in death. GAD is the mathematical result of an ancestor whose alarm system never turned off. You are a victim of your own survival success. Your brain is trying to solve a puzzle that has no pieces, burning through your life's energy to prevent a 0.01% statistical anomaly that hasn't even happened yet. Major Depressive Disorder. You are looking at your phone. A friend has sent you a funny video. You understand the joke, you recognize the humor, but the dopamine response, the spark, is missing. The screen just looks like cold glass. You realize you haven't moved from this chair in 3 hours. The room is dimming as the sun sets, but you can't find the physical output required to reach for the light switch. Major depressive disorder affects over 280 million people globally. It is not a bad mood. It is a systemic biological shutdown. The monoamine hypothesis suggests a depletion of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. But modern science looks deeper at BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and its role in neuroplasticity. When you are depressed, your hippocampus, the center for memory and emotion, can actually shrink in volume by up to 10%. Evolutionarily, this may be a conservation of energy strategy. If an organism perceives its environment as having zero reward potential, it enters a state of learned helplessness to avoid wasting calories. But in your modern living room, this biological hibernation becomes a prison. You are an astronaut whose oxygen is thinning. You aren't sad, you are simply running out of the chemical currency required to interact with reality. ADHD. You sit down to write a single paragraph. You notice a stray thread on your sleeve. You pull it. That reminds you that you need a sewing kit. You search the drawer, find an old receipt for a toaster, and suddenly you are on your phone researching the history of bread making in ancient Egypt. 40 minutes have vanished. You still haven't written a word. Attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder involves a deficiency in tonic dopamine levels within the prefrontal cortex. Research shows that individuals with ADHD have a 5% to 10% reduction in volume in certain brain regions like the basal ganglia. It is a disorder of executive function. From an evolutionary standpoint, the hunter versus farmer hypothesis suggests that the ADHD brain is actually a hunter brain. In a nomadic setting, hypervigilance and rapid task switching were elite traits. However, modern society is built on farmer logic, linear time, repetition, and delayed gratification. The math doesn't add up for you. You are a high-frequency processor being forced to run low-frequency software. You are living in a world that moves in slow motion, while your brain is operating at double speed. You aren't broken, you are just a thoroughbred horse being asked to pull a plow. Schizophrenia. You are walking through a park. The wind rustles the leaves, and for a split second, you hear your name whispered with perfect clarity. You look at the pattern of cracks in the sidewalk and realize they are a geometric proof that the person in the blue jacket is following you. The logic is airtight. The evidence is everywhere. Schizophrenia is a complex condition affecting about 1 in 300 people worldwide. It is often linked to the dopamine hypothesis, specifically an overactivity in the mesolimbic pathway, which governs reward and salience. This leads to aberrant salience. Your brain assigns massive importance to random stimuli. Imagine your brain as a radio. In a healthy state, it tunes into one station. In schizophrenia, the squelch filter fails. Every bit of static, every ghost signal, and every crosstalk from other stations comes through at maximum volume. Neuroimaging often shows ventricular enlargement, where the fluid-filled spaces in the brain expand as the surrounding tissue thins. You are experiencing a leak in reality. Your internal thoughts have been tagged with the external label by your brain's sorting office. You are a scientist observing a world where the laws of physics have stopped making sense. Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder. You are about to leave your house. You check the stove. It's off. You walk to the door, but a thought strikes. Are you sure? You go back. You touch the dial. It's cold. You walk away, but the feeling of knowing fails to register in your brain. You check it again. And again, by the 10th time, you are sweating and you're already 20 minutes late for work. OCD is driven by a malfunction in the CSTC, corticostriato-thalamocortical circuit. This is the brain's loop for habit and checking. In an OCD brain, the all-clear signal from the thalamus never reaches the orbitofrontal cortex. It is a disorder of pathological doubt. While most people have intrusive thoughts, what if I jumped? Or, is the door locked? The OCD brain lacks the cognitive inhibition to dismiss them. You are stuck in a mathematical loop. An obsession creates anxiety, and a compulsion is the only variable that temporarily reduces the equation to 0. But the equation always resets. You are a prisoner of a glitch in the software of certainty. You are performing a ritual to stop a catastrophe that you know, intellectually, has a 0% chance of happening, yet you cannot stop until the feeling is right. Post-traumatic stress disorder. You are in a crowded mall. A car backfires in the distance. Instantly, the mall vanishes. Your brain is flooded with glucocorticoids. Your Broca's area, the part of the brain responsible for speech, shuts down. You cannot explain what is happening because your brain has shifted into a purely survival-based, nonverbal state. PTSD is the result of a memory that was never properly encoded. Research shows that people with chronic PTSD often have an 8% to 12% reduction in hippocampal volume. Because the hippocampus is too weak to timestamp the trauma as over, the amygdala keeps the memory in the present folder. This is a failure of extinction learning. Evolutionarily, if you survived a tiger attack, your brain should be terrified of anything that looks like a tiger. But in PTSD, the generalization becomes too broad. The tiger becomes a loud noise, a specific smell, or a crowded room. You are a time traveler who is constantly being pulled back to the worst moment of your life. Your body is a temple where the war never ended, even though the treaty was signed years ago. Anorexia nervosa. You look in the mirror. You see the outline of your ribs, the hollow of your cheeks. But the insular cortex, the part of the brain that integrates your internal body signals, is sending a distorted message. You don't see a starving body, you see excess. You see a problem that can only be solved by a further reduction in intake. Anorexia nervosa has the highest mortality rate of any mental health disorder. It is a profound disruption of interoception, your brain's ability to sense its own internal state. Genetics account for approximately 50% to 70% of the risk, involving complex variations in serotonin and dopamine receptors that make starvation feel like control rather than pain. Mathematically, you are treating your body as a closed system, where input equals failure. It is a biological paradox. The more the body starves, the more the brain's reward circuitry reinforces the behavior. You are a pilot trying to land a plane while the instruments are giving you false readings. You are starving for a perfection that your biology will not allow you to survive.